broken once more. In fact, our planet reached the hottest day ever recorded 4 days in a row last week. For millions of Americans who are unable to access shelter or air conditioning, this past week was deadly. At least 14 people died in Texas and Louisiana, and hundreds were sent to emergency rooms. In my home state of New York,
the lawmakers are discussing a huge process on passing a new bill. These bills would have a great effect on the American people. However, folks, the Democrats are raising concerns on the United States right now. In this moment, we don't know what they're going to do about this fourth stimulus, because Kevin McCarthy signaled his support for today for some cuts in defense spending amid the growing tension with the White House and GOP leaders about whether another stimulus should be sent out today. Well, let me tell you one thing, it definitely should. During an appearance, Kevin McCarthy was asked if he was willing to cut defense spending as part of a reported deal with the GOP caucus in order to freeze spending at 2022 levels. While McCarthy disputed estimates that such a deal would result in a $75 billion cut to defense spending, something that people don't even want to admit is the fact. McCarthy told Fox, "It's back if we go to 2022 levels. There was the spending just 2 or 3 weeks ago that's not cutting defense by $75 billion. So, the speaker also noted that every single level of the government should be looking at ways to spend less taxpayer money, but Kevin McCarthy remains timid as tensions grow within the White House GOP over possible reductions to defense spending. As a result of the deal, McCarthy reportedly struck in his bid to secure the speakership. Now, to cap discretionary spending in the fiscal year 2022, that would effectively cut $75 billion, everybody. $75 billion from the $900 billion of defense spending that the Democrats have and that the Democrats want. The Republican House majority also passed its first bill this week in an effort to revoke a boost in spending for the IRS. McCarthy announced that it was the first order of business because government should work for you, not against you. The bill passed a 221 to 210 vote along the party lines. It would rescind the budget increase of $80 billion given to the IRS earlier this year for the IRA. So now, however, the Biden administration has also threatened to make some big changes. And this is what I'm talking about. With Congress divided between Republican-led House and Democratic-held Senate, the policy priorities of either party may pass in a single chamber, but are unlikely to succeed in both. Partisan measures, therefore, have standing a little chance of becoming law, and the current Congress does not expect to pass a bill, major one that is, that advances the partisan platforms of Republicans and Democrats. Some analysts have worried that Republicans' infighting in the recent rules package are a sign of more alarming things to come. They fear that the House may not be able to approve a must-pass bill, including government budgets and bills to raise debt ceiling. Congress holds the purse strings. It allocates the funds to federal agencies and programs, folks. And appropriation bills are passed periodically through Congress. But when it runs out, well, things are done. It's over for them. I do want to say that the Congress holds and last year that needed to approve an increase in the government borrowing power known as the debt ceiling. This means that Democrats warned that if the Republican-held House plays politics too much with the issue, it could lead to a disastrous consequence for the U.S. and the economy. And now, our state is on the track to reach a debt ceiling on January 19th, unless Congress does something. And the SNAP program has undergone modifications this year, affecting 42 million citizens participating in the program. SNAP benefit amounts vary based on people's household size, monthly income, and other expenses. The program sets restrictions on both net and gross monthly income broken down to household size. But the barrier to acquiring food aid in Michigan has been lowered. It is Governor Gretchen Whitmer, signed a bipartisan bill removing the asset test as a requirement to receive SNAP benefits. And according to the Michigan Executive Office of the Governor, the move will offer greater financial security to those who need it the most and ease the burden of receiving aid. Michigan is now one of the 37 states with similar laws, and the governor says people who had more than $15,000 worth of assets, including vehicles and savings, were disqualified for food assistance. Officials say that 500,000 children in Michigan will benefit from the eliminated asset, and now in Maine, all recipients of the SNAP program will have their monthly benefits delivered to them by today. SNAP benefits are distributed to eligible residents from the 10th to the 14th of every month, with all beneficiaries scheduled to have their benefits by the month of July by Friday. Now, the next round of SNAP payments will also begin on August 10th. The state of Texas will complete issuing SNAP benefits worth up to $1,700 for a month of July this week. Texas has a long window for issuing payments, lasting through the first 10 days in a month. Even the amount received depends on one family size. A single household will receive $281, and an 8-member household will receive $1,700. But on a federal level, some House representatives want to expand the number of food stamp recipients subject to work requirements and time-limited food benefits by raising the age of people. Members are writing the bill against the backdrop of extraordinary uncertainty in the economy and inflation, including the cost of food is so high that the Federal Reserve is willing to risk a recession to slow the prices down. Economic disruptions are caused by the crisis in the robust labor market is expected to weaken in the months ahead. The past week, Democrats of the Department of Education announced that it will begin discharging student loan debts for borrowers who've been in repayment for 20 to 25 years under a one-time payment. Around 800,000 borrowers will benefit from this, and there will be $39 billion dropped. Joe Biden said the previous announcement is a one-time adjustment and will become an even more important lifeline for struggling borrowers than repayments start in September. The one-time payment adjustment the Education Department had counts certain months that were previously ineligible towards student loan forgiveness.
For the wealthiest people in this country, it was caused by a recession as a result of the greed, recklessness, and illegal behavior on Wall Street. And if those are the causes of the deficit and the national debt, I will be damned if we're going to balance the budget on the backs of the elderly, the sick, the children, and the poor.
Unexpected updates from the federal government. Millions of people may lose Medicaid coverage starting in 2023. There's a big change coming to Medicaid benefits. Economists and lawmakers are even urging that Congress approve more of the relief funds. A massive spending bill everybody has just passed in Congress. It will allow the states to kick some people off Medicaid starting in April. And according to estimates from the administration, this is something important to look at. Because the reality is that millions of people are going to lose Medicare coverage. Medicaid is going to disappear. And since the crisis first began, enrollment in the program. And they don't want to throw out the people who are not. The public health emergency has halted the process. The recently passed spending bill would allow states to start kicking people off the Medicaid coverage April 1st. The federal government will also notify people and wind down extra funds to states for the added enrollees over the next year under this proposal. Before states remove Medicaid members, they are required to check patients' eligibility and notify people that are losing coverage. Advocates have also raised concerns about how states will notify enrollees if they are being kicked off the program and what their options are. The effort will particularly challenge for some of the country's poorest people who may have not a stable home address or access to internet or phone services. This is a problem, and so you have to check the status. Because even the omnibus spending bill allows states to drop people from Medicaid starting in April 1st. It will most likely take a little bit longer. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid have recommended that states take a full year to reevaluate everyone in the program, although states are not required to follow that guidance. Many people who lose Medicaid will be able to find other health insurance programs through an employer, the Affordable Care Act marketplace, or in the case of health insurance, but up to 5 million people remain uninsured, which is a potentially devastating situation. Healthcare advocates urge people who are on Medicaid to make sure their contact information is up on date and that they check the mail frequently just to keep an eye out on their eligibility status before April 1st becomes